If you're in the market for a new smartphone and you're looking for the cheapest option possible, then Samsung may have exactly what you've been looking for. This is the Samsung Galaxy A16. And if you live in the United States, this is the cheapest Samsung phone that you can buy and one of the cheapest phones you can buy in the US overall. But what exactly are you getting with a phone that's only going to set you back $200? And is it even worth it to check out? Well, let's talk about it and find out. What's going on, guys? Ty Tech here, back again. And here's my review of the Samsung Galaxy A16. As always, if you're new to the channel, come on in, don't be shy. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get this channel to 25K before the end of the year. And let's take a look at this bad boy. On with the video. Now, I'll be honest with you guys right from the jump. Reviewing this phone was probably one of the weirdest reviews I've done on this channel to this point, simply because of the type of phone that the A16 is. This phone is very much on the budget end of the smartphone marketplace, and as someone who routinely buys $1,000 plus flagships every year, switching to a phone that costs a fifth of that was a big change for me. But if you only have that fifth to work with and you're the kind of person that just needs a phone to be a phone, then the Galaxy A16 will take care of all of your basic smartphone necessities and nothing more. On the front, you get a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display with a 90 Hz refresh rate. Now, it's not the brightest or prettiest display, especially with those big bezels going around the side, but it is fairly sharp, plenty big enough for watching content or playing games on, and plenty smooth when you're scrolling through web pages and navigating through the OS. Now, the glare in your display in direct sunlight is going to be a bit of a pain in the ass, thanks to this display only having a peak brightness of about 800 nits. But hey, at least it has a higher refresh rate than a base iPhone 16 today, which is a fact that makes me want to roll my eyes down the nearest bowling lane. The frame and back of this phone are both made of plastic, with the frame having this smooth transition leading you right to your volume buttons and your power button / fingerprint scanner on the right-hand side. I'll get back to that in a second. You have your SIM card tray and micro SD card slot on the left-hand side, and then your speakers and USB-C port on the bottom. Now, this phone's build is in no way supposed to be luxurious. But the fact that it's made mostly out of plastic has a multitude of advantages for anyone who picks up this phone. For one, plastic is cheaper to repair if you manage to tear this phone apart, and it's lighter in weight. This phone is only about 200 grams, which led to a fairly comfortable in-hand experience whilst using this phone for long periods. The A16 actually has a water and dust resistance rating now. It's only IP54 with protection against splashes and some light rain, but it's better than the A15 last year, which didn't have an IP rating at all. And despite this phone definitely being on the, cheaper side of things, Samsung was still able to give this phone a little bit of elegance thanks to that gradient to the plastic on the back of this phone that shifts whenever light hits it. That's the main reason why I got the light gray version of this phone to show off. I also thought that the light gray color would be better at hiding fingerprints. I was wrong. This phone was an absolute fingerprint magnet thanks to the plastic on the back, and it also made it kind of slippery to use in my hands from time to time, so a case is going to be a must when using this phone, unless you want to drop it like Amari Cooper drops passes. The plastic frame is also missing a headphone jack this year, so that is a bit of a step backwards that Samsung took from the Galaxy A15, but Samsung did not take a step backwards with the battery life on this phone because you get the same 5,000 milliamp hour battery that you got on the A15 last year, with the option for 25-watt fast charging. Now, there is no option for wireless charging on this phone because, of course, there isn't. It's a $200 budget Samsung phone. However, I don't think that's going to be a big deal for the type of person that would actually pick up this phone. And honestly, the battery life on this phone, as someone who's never used a budget model device as a daily driver before, actually kind of surprised me. For the most part, I was able to get through an entire day of moderate use, video watching, using navigation, Bluetoothing content in my car, and web browsing with a little bit of juice still left in the tank. I even got way into the next day sometimes with lighter use. The target customer for this phone is probably going to be a light to moderate user, meaning you'll probably use this phone for some light web browsing, taking phone calls and returning text messages, a little social media browsing, maybe some YouTube thrown in there, and you'll get a whole day's worth of battery life out of the A16, no problem. However, that battery life will degrade over time, and with this phone's tendency to overheat whilst using it outside, I'll get back to that more in a second, I can't really see the battery life on this phone maintaining itself well over time. But if you're just gonna be using this phone for checking some emails, texting or calling your loved ones back, which sounded great according to those I spoke to, except for this noticeable static I heard from time to time, a little light social media use, and if you're one of those people that just need to do what you need to do and get back to your real world life, you'll easily get a day to a day and a half of battery life out of this phone. But the software experience that you'll get with this phone whilst using it over that day and a half, that's a bit of a different story. Inside the Galaxy A16, Samsung packed an Exynos 1330 chip inside, with options for up to 8 gigabytes of RAM, up to 256 gigabytes of storage with expandable memory, along with Android 15 and Samsung's One UI 7 skin on top of it. Now, the software on the Galaxy A16 shows why smartphones are one of the purest examples of you get what you pay for, because this phone moved like molasses most of the time while I was using it. I'm not gonna lie. Moving in between apps was pretty slow most of the time. Navigating with gestures was so much slower for me on this phone that I defaulted back to using the navigation buttons on this phone, which I haven't done since I used my Galaxy S8 Plus nearly a decade ago. And just opening up this phone to the home screen after unlocking it either using your fingerprint scanner / power button or face unlock will make this phone lag about as hard as Joe Biden. This phone also really struggled with multitasking. Like, there would be multiple times where I'd be doing something like listening to music and trying to take a photo, and this phone just no-sells the out of me.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Plus, my Bluetooth and my headphones kept cutting in and out, especially when trying to use this phone outside when it's hot. This phone chugs like a knocked loose song when you're using it and it's hot outside. And I think it goes without saying that this is not the kind of phone that you want to do intense gaming on. This phone is more of a Candy Crush in the waiting room of your doctor's office type vibe. But I have to use the proper context whilst reviewing this phone because it does only cost $200. Of course, it's not going to run and operate like a flagship $800 plus Samsung device. This isn't Ferrari specs here. This is more like 2005 Toyota Camry specs. But just like the Toyota Camry, while it's not the flashiest or prettiest thing to use, the software in this phone is fairly reliable and will satisfy the basic needs of anyone who picks up this phone. Geekbench scores were about where you'd expect for a phone like this. I got very good data speeds with T-Mobile's ultra capacity 5G network, usual disclaimers withstanding. And like I said earlier, you do get Samsung's One UI 7 skin on top of Android 15 with this phone, but it's actually a stripped back version of One UI 7 called One UI Core 7. Meaning that if you're the kind of person that's going to pick up this phone, you're not going to be bombarded with the larger and greater Samsung features that you'll get on a flagship device, like the whole suite of Galaxy AI features. But you still get things like the bold and gorgeous redesigned app icons, Samsung features like the Now bar for real-time information gathering without having to unlock your phone, and live notifications for controlling things like timers and media playback, along with an absolutely ludicrous 6 years of software updates promised by Samsung, which is absolutely crazy for a phone at this price point. So while this phone might move at a bit of a snail's pace while you're using it, you still get a fairly packed software experience with a lot of things to do. But if you want to taper even more of that stuff back, you do get the option to put this phone into easy mode, a way of simplifying this phone down to its bare essential apps like phone, messages, your browser, and your camera. And we're going to talk about the cameras on this phone last because honestly, they're the worst part of this phone and the worst part of any phone at this price point. With the Galaxy A16, you get a 50 megapixel wide angle main camera capable of shooting 1080p video at 30 frames per second, a 5 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 13 megapixel wide angle selfie camera on the front. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the cameras on this device because the camera and video quality are about what you would expect from a $200 budget Samsung device. You get photos with good color and passable imaging as long as you don't look too hard at it. The main camera is using a really small sensor, so there's not a lot of detail preserved in these photos. But as long as you have enough light, you'll still get a fairly enjoyable end result. Videos had washed out colors and the movement of the focal length was criminally slow, while selfie videos were just as washed out and overexposed. Please excuse my sweating. Needless to say, the cameras on this phone are not good. But for $200, I don't really think you're supposed to expect much from this camera system. The point I'm trying to make is that the kind of person that's actually going to pick up this phone probably isn't going to be taking photos and videos all willy-nilly, and the photos and videos that they do take are going to be seen more as memories for them to keep, not something to post on social media. And if they do post on social media, it's probably going to be on Facebook because, let's be real here, the price and affordability of this phone is going to really appeal more to an older audience.
And I can't get up!
And they're more likely to be on Facebook, not, TikTok or Snapchat. Photos and videos taken on this phone are going to be for going back and reliving a moment. A day at the beach, a day out with the family, a photo of the pet. And you don't need an $800 smartphone camera system to capture those moments if you just want to relive them. And for most people, that's more than enough. Anything more is just extra. And overall, that last phrase is pretty much the best way you can sum up the Galaxy A16 and other phones in this price range. Anything more is just extra. The Galaxy A16 is a budget phone for someone on a budget. I've talked a lot in this video about the kind of person that would actually pick up a phone like this, and that kind of person is someone who genuinely doesn't really care about what kind of phone they have as long as they have a phone. Hence the reason why this phone is only a few dollars a month or completely free with a new line of service on all 3 of the big carriers and many prepaid carriers too. The 6.5-inch screen you get here is plenty big enough for a web page and social media browsing, along with being bright enough in most settings for a satisfying experience. The plastic build, while a bit slippery, holds up well, now has some degree of water and dust resistance, and is cheap to repair or replace if need be. The battery life will get you through an entire day with moderate use and longer than that with lighter use. And while it is slow in speed and movement, everything you get with the software is enough that it doesn't feel like you're really missing anything with this phone, especially if you're just looking for the most affordable option possible to you. You get a smooth 90Hz refresh rate display, your choice of biometric options, a medley of lock screen and home screen customization options for you to choose from, with some of Samsung's newest features and a dash of Samsung's AI features in there if you want to dip your toes into it. The camera performance is pretty bad, but that's kind of par for the course for phones at this price range. Could the build, battery life, camera, and software performance all be better?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. But this phone could also cost 4 times what you're paying for it in order to get those improvements. The 6 years of software updates that Samsung promises for this phone does give me a little bit of pause though. I'm just not sure how that Exynos budget chipset and only 4 GB of RAM is going to hold up over time, mainly because phones like this really aren't meant to last a whole 6 years. So if you can help it, spring for the 8 GB version of this phone just to be a bit on the safer side. And if the 4 GB version or the 8 GB version can last the entire 6 years that Samsung promises without being unusable at the end of it, with everything else that this phone offers you for just $200, I feel like the Galaxy A16 does enough to warrant a final grade of about a B+. Because the Galaxy A16 is brilliant with the basics. But guys, that's gonna do it for my review of the Samsung Galaxy A16. If you or anyone you know are looking for a phone just to be a phone and to satisfy all of your basic smartphone needs, a phone with a big and bright display, a phone with a solid build and solid software, along with some good battery life and passable camera output for just $200, I'll leave some shopping links in the description below for you guys, but you know what I always say, the choice is yours. Make your move. But if this phone doesn't feel like the move for you, you're looking for something with better cameras and a faster chipset, check out my review of the Galaxy A36 on your left. And if you're looking for all that plus a stylus built in, check out my review of the Moto G Stylus 2025 on the right. And don't forget to drop a like and a sub on the way. This has been Ty Tech, guys. Let's get this channel to 25,000 subs, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.